What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy, the Hater. Hater Outdoors! It's finally nice again. The Hater can walk around, stretch his legs after a long day of work. Good news! The Hater's offer on the house has gone through, so the Hater will hopefully be a homeowner soon, pending the inspection. You know what I'm saying? So once again, thank you all. You know, obviously I could have done it by myself, but the assurances that my YouTube channel is growing and providing me some additional income does help, so thank you all. You are all responsible for the Hater being a homeowner to some extent. Now let's get to today's video. It has to do with WWE LFG Episode 2 review. Now, I will say this, all right? This episode, in my opinion, was atrocious. I don't understand how they even made this episode. And I'll explain why, you know? But we're gonna do the usual segment by segment, you know what I mean? But in this case, it's gonna be more like point by point because, quite frankly, like, there's too many segments and it was all kind of like weirdly cut. But anyways, basically the show starts out with a recap of what happened. Then all the wrestlers, except for the two other guys that were put into different teams, or the guy and the girl that were put in with Undertaker and Booker T, everyone now gets a team, right? 2 men, 2 women per team. The teams, like, are whatever because we don't know anything about these people, right? Now, like, in my personal opinion, this show and any kind of premise of, like, Tough Enough, NXT, all these things should be based far more on the character aspect and the entertainment aspect, right, versus the in-ring stuff. Now, I understand this is one episode, so I'm not going to judge too harshly. But in my opinion, it seems like if I were a wrestler, I'd want Booker T as my coach. Sorry, Bubba Ray. Booker T's probably second. Bubba Ray, because there was a part in this episode where he told that blonde girl, that Sasquatch-looking son bitch, he was like, look, you need to entertain me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about the in-ring stuff, is effectively what he said. You know? So as the wrestlers come out to the ring, they're judging them on their in-ring work, which was really, really boring. Right? Number one, these people are not good wrestlers in the slightest. They're not even indie wrestlers. They're nobodies, right? They're just people with athletic backgrounds, which really, really pissed me off because when they would have their entrances with no music, they'd put up a little graphic, right? It felt like, remember Mattitude? Matt Hardy version 1 where it would have like some random Matt facts. You know, it'd be like, Matt likes yellowtail sushi, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. That's how it felt because you had like the statistics of the people, which I don't care about at all because I can see them. And then you also had like background and it was like football, powerlifting, cheerleading, swim. And it's like, I don't care at all about that. Is your gimmick going to be you're a swimmer? If it's not, no, I don't care, right? Unless your gimmick is you swim and somehow you're going to make that interesting. I don't care that you swam in the past. This is not interesting at all. You know, especially I don't care if you played football in the past because in my opinion, football does not translate well to wrestling, right? No football player, right, has become good at wrestling because they're a football player, right? Except for arguably Goldberg because he did the spear, you know what I mean? But other than that, it's like it has no bearing on wrestling whatsoever. It's completely different skills. It's not transferable. Now, general athleticism, I don't need you to tell me that. I can look and I can see, right? So then everyone was paired up, not everyone, 4 people, 4 guys and 4 girls, I think, were chosen to have 4 matches. They were chosen by the coaches, right? Something of note here is that the only guy, you can make an argument for the blonde girl because she has this like bubbly, ditzy, you know, persona, but that's like basically the Maria gimmick, which, you know, just isn't very compelling, nor is the gimmick of BJ, whatever, Braden, whatever his name is, right? The West Coast gangster, which I really enjoy. But like, it's not like his gimmick is, you know, breaking new ground, right? It's the same shit. It's basically a Grayson Waller gimmick, right? But his dedication to it and just the natural charisma that he has just comes through. With Grayson Waller, you can tell that he's trying to be that way. Maybe he also is that way, right? We don't know because we don't know Grayson Waller or this guy personally or The Miz personally. We don't know them. So we can only go with what we see. With Grayson Waller, it feels forced, right? Kind of like, you know, when Kofi Kingston cuts a promo, it's like, you know that he's not a dork like Xavier Woods and Big E. You know that he's a little bit more mature. You know, historically, he's also older than them, right? So you kind of tell that he's forcing on this unicorn bullshit, whereas for like Xavier Woods and Big E, it just comes naturally, right? Forcing it on is not good, but, you know, sometimes you have to, especially when your gimmick is part of a group. This guy, he just comes off as the biggest douchebag of all time. And he's in character 100% of the time, to the point where the public isn't sure whether he is or isn't a douchebag, or whether this is just his gimmick, right? Bubba Ray, on the other hand, who is obviously no idiot, he plays up to it really well too. So does The Undertaker, Booker T, and Mickie James. They play up to the fact that this is all a show, right? Bully Ray has this permanent scowl on his face, and the guy's like, look, this is my face, because Bubba Ray says, why do you always smirk, right? And he's like, why do you always have a scowl? You know what I mean? Like, this is just my face, bro. And that's part of the character, because nobody's face is like that, you know? But the idea is, this guy goes in there equipped with a promo, and, of course, with a character, right? Which is a lot more than you can say about basically everybody else. Everybody else, as far as I'm concerned, up until this point, has absolutely zero chance to ever make it to WWE. This guy has a ceiling. That ceiling is The Miz, right? But that's like the highest level he'll ever go. Probably he'll never make it to Raw or SmackDown, and realistically, even if he does, he's not going to be WWE champion. Even if he does, he's not going to be WWE champion at the main event of WrestleMania. You know, that's a foregone conclusion. The tough enough people, they never make it. They just get a contract for like 2 years, and then they get released quietly, you know? That's probably what's going to happen to 99% of these people. Now, because there was no character in display, we have to judge the people based on only their appearances, right? So they profile the characters once in a while. First, we've got the Holyfield kid, right? Now, one thing that I'll say off the bat about this guy is that this guy has the last name Holyfield, tattooed on his back. Now, this is automatically a no-no, right? Because that means that his character's last name has to be Holyfield. Otherwise, if he becomes like, I don't know, Elijah Johnson, then the question is, why does he have Holyfield tattooed on his back, right? Oh, Holyfield is his dad. Well, then why the fuck is his name Elijah Johnson, right? This guy, aside from that tattoo, this guy is one of the people that has a unique look, right? He looks like a regular dude, but there's something there. I don't know how to explain it. There's something there. Then we've got the Drake Moreau guy with the moon tattoo. This guy has a unique presentation, but nothing we've never seen before. This has Cameron Grimes written all over it, you know what I mean? And I like Cameron Grimes, and I highly, highly doubt this guy's better than Cameron Grimes, or that he ever will be as good as Cameron Grimes. So that guy, as far as I'm concerned, is fully disqualified. They got this Samoan girl, right? I don't know what they see in her. They're just lying to her blatantly, right? And like, because there's no way that Undertaker, Booker T, Mickie James, and Bubba Ray don't see what I see, right? They're lying to her completely. Right? You have the makings of a star. No, she doesn't, right? This has inferior Tamina written all over it, right? At least Tamina is a good-looking woman in the face. This woman looks like, I don't even want to say what I want to say, right? But this woman does not look like a wrestler. She doesn't fit the mold, and she doesn't have the presence that The Undertaker was pretending she had. That's just a bold-faced lie, courtesy of your boy, you know, or courtesy of The Undertaker, brought to you by your boy. Now, one person that did stand out was, I forget her name. It was Lee something. Lee, like, is a power lifter. It's the Asian chick, right? She's a good-looking girl with an incredible physique, and because her physique is, like, correct, right? It's not this, like, Charlotte Flair physique where she's just, like, too skinny, and it's not this Rhea Ripley, like, you know, I don't want to say curvy, but you understand what I'm saying, a curvy physique. She has like the physique of an Amazon, right? She's more like China, but much more effeminate, right? She's like a Jade Cargill, like almost, but with less like size and more definition, you know? So this girl has a good look. Booker T pointed this out. So did other people, right? So with all that being said, this girl gets the haters' seal of approval this week. She also won a point for her team. I don't care about the match at all, but she has the presentation that is required for someone to not be a colossal jobber, right? That's it. That's all we're saying about her. Is she going to be this massive star? I highly doubt it. But we have to remember that some of these people, like the blonde girl, who I called Sasquatch earlier, she's like 20 years old. You know what I mean? So if you give this girl like 2 years of training and she becomes good in the ring, the sky's the limit because she's so young that she has the opportunity to advance. Now, let's talk about the matches. First of all, there was one match. It was a guy named Jasper who, like, I mean, this guy with the clothes on, he looks like a badass because he wears like cool shit. But when he's wrestling, he's just another regular guy, right? He just belongs in Out the Mud, teaming with Bronco Nima and the other guy whose name I'll never remember. You know what I mean? That's his like presentation, right? And the fact of the matter is, Bronco Nima and the other guy whose name I've never learned are obviously better than him because they're in NXT. So they're like him in a few years, and those guys are jobbers, so this guy's going to be a jobber too. Now, they kept saying how he was leading the other guy in the match, and the other guy called him a veteran, and it's like, nobody here is a veteran. Let's get that straight, right? Nobody here is good enough to be even in NXT. You know? So this idea that this guy knows like a little bit more than this guy, the gap is too small for the other guy not to bridge, right? So even if you're there for 2 months, in 3 months you could pass over everybody because it's not that hard, you know, if we're being honest, right? So he wrestled a guy called Chris Island. This guy is never going to make it. 0 chance. This guy has basically nothing going for him, right? He reminds me of Xavier Woods' first gimmick, right? He's basically a one-man street profit. He just comes out and tries to hype the crowd, but he's just a regular dude, you know? Like, we have this already in a million different ways. We have this with people that can actually hype the crowd, like, let's say, Enzo Amore. And we have this with pretenders, like Buddy Murphy and people like that. He's just another Buddy Murphy, you know what I mean? He beats Jasper, who's like 6'6", 300 pounds. He beats him with like a crossbody. Not a flying crossbody, just a gentle crossbody, and just pins him, right? This is the level we're dealing with here. So the idea this is a good match is just preposterous, right? Even when they have a good match, like the Asian girl, apparently, that kind of dozed off a little bit, but the Asian girl fought the other girl who has like a fake scar on her eye. Like, she also, you know, looks the part, but it's like nobody is interested in this, you know what I mean? Like, they pretend it's a great match, but at the same time, it's like, bro, we've established a million times that the match is irrelevant, right? Just like The Undertaker, everything that he says, Booker T as well, all the advice they give is how to like manipulate the crowd to like you, right? Undertaker did a speech on the whole yay, nay thing. Bubba Ray talked about a clothesline and how you have to like sell the clothesline and also live in the moment of the clothesline. And everything that Booker T does basically is about fan work, right? He's like, make the fans think this. Let the fans believe that, right? Because these are seasoned veterans. Mickey James too. All of the criticisms that they have in terms of in-ring work, they need to divert that to people like Nakamura, who don't wrestle at all, right? These people, they're the benefit that they have, and presumably why they're on a reality TV show, is that they are people that have the capacity, at least in the eyes of some, to become massive stars. That's the bullshit they're selling us, right? We know that's not the case, but that's the bullshit they're selling us. And at the very least, these people speak American, you know what I mean? They can cut a damn promo if they try. Now, this brings me to the conclusion of this video and a small discussion on what happened in the end. Basically, while they were cutting promos in front of Bubba Ray's team, right? 2 people cut a promo, they were completely shit promos. And then BJ cuts a promo that's like, it's basically like a Chael Sonnen ripoff promo, which obviously is a Shane McMahon ripoff promo. But the idea of like, I grew up in the mean streets of Orange County, right? I personally think that's a great gimmick generally. Like the guy who's like tough, but he comes from like a good upbringing, you know what I mean? Because like he has the mannerisms and everything, right? He's supposed to be the West Coast gangster, but like the implications are that he's not a gangster at all. He's just like he's basically like Jamie Kennedy and like whatever, Malibu's Most Wanted, right? But if you've been to those places, you know that those people, some of them, are tough motherfuckers too, right? And that's why I like that gimmick. It subverts the expectation. The implications are that because Bronco Nima and the other guy grew up like in the like, you know, swamps of Louisiana, where the fuck they're from, they're out the mud, right? Like these guys are like real tough guys, but it's like the reality is, like Gunther is also presented as a real tough guy. He probably is a tough guy if we're being honest, right? And he's from like Austria, you know, he probably had like a pretty good life, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, toughness has basically nothing to do with where you're from, right? Some people are just born that way, some people aren't, you know? You can experiment, but we all know people from the ghetto, people from rich areas, we all know that in our neighborhood we had pussies and we had tough guys that nobody messed with, right? So that's why I like this character. But the primary reason why I like BJ as like as a prospect, as a future great, is because, again, he stays in character. He basically said their promos are shit in front of them, right? And then Bubba Ray is like, why would you like disparage your team like that? Like, you know damn well that he's in character. He's the only one taking this opportunity seriously if there's any veracity to what's happening in front of us on TV, right? If this is in fact a competition and it's not all like a complete work like I suspect, then BJ is the only one who is taking it seriously. He wants to stand out, and that's why he stands out. Then you have like Chris Island, you know what I mean? And Drake Moreau. These guys are just there. It's like there's absolutely nothing about them that communicates any charm. And I will say this. In the end of the episode, BJ said like, I told you so, Bubba Ray, in like an interview type situation, right? Where he was like, yeah, you got to pick me. Like, I'm the golden goose, basically, of not only your team, but of this show, right? And I will say one other thing that I didn't like. The inconsistency. There's that one guy, his name is Troy, right? There's Jasper Troy, and then there's Troy. Troy, I thought, this guy, like, there's something there, right? This guy, he's so, like, jacked, right? And so athletic that, like, you would be a retard not to be able to do something with him. Now, I'm not saying this guy is going to be the next Kurt Angle, but he at least looks like he can be the next Kurt Angle, right? Obviously, Kurt Angle would fold him in like 2 seconds, but the reality is this guy looks like he's the next Kurt Angle, right? In terms of like having like a crazy good physique. He's relatively tall at 6'1", right? And he can do amazing things, right? Like he's probably going to have like a Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas-esque career, but nevertheless, that's more than most of these jabrones are ever going to have. Like Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas weren't renowned in like their ability to cut a promo, but they were both like always in good shape and very, very good wrestlers, and they could probably beat your ass in real life, right? That's why the team was so great. Now, with all that being said, what I didn't like was how the pros, whatever, I'm going to call them rookies and pros, but the legends, right? How they basically like just did a 180 on this guy, right? Last week, Bubba Ray's like, I want to beat your ass because I don't believe you're a tough guy. And the guy's like, yes, sir. He seems like a nice guy. He's like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, thank you. You know, he's like a very, like, you can get behind someone like that. Someone who's very polite can make a pretty compelling face, you know? But anyways, now they ignored the fact that this guy has no personality and charisma, and they're like, wow, you're like really good in the ring. Again, I get it. This was an in-ring episode, right? Which is why it sucked ass. But nevertheless, you can't just ignore all that shit, right? You have to emote, like, while you're in the ring, right? So, Tyra May Steele, I'm starting to learn their names, motherfuckers. In the first episode, when she had the match, I pointed to, I pointed to the TV, and I told my fiance, I was like, look at this girl, like she's selling it, right? She's like basically pretending that she's hurt, even though she isn't, right? That's a big part of it, you know? And that's the criticism that the Shiloh guy with a missing tooth got, right? The point is, we need people to be able to go out there, entertain us in the ring slightly, but more importantly, we need personalities and characters. And as far as I can tell, this is a massive missed opportunity, right? It's the same thing as NXT. Like, here are the rookies. Here's a guy called Michael Tarver. He has no personality. Oh, you like him? Oh, you don't? Well, if you don't, here's Heath Slater. He also has no personality. Here's Wade Barrett. He said the phrase winds of change once, but otherwise has no personality. None of those guys have any personality. So it's like, I don't care. How am I supposed to know if Wade Barrett is better than Heath Slater? Because he won the show? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell are we talking about? There was a match where, like, Heath Slater beats Edge by countout, and you're like, oh, what? You know what I'm saying? And then you learn, obviously, that a lot of these guys, including Daniel Bryan, are, like, big deals in the indies. I already knew who Daniel Bryan was, you know? But, like, it is what it is. But you understand what I'm getting at, right? The point is, none of these people are impressive enough at all in the ring because they're rookies. They're complete novices. So even, that's why Chris Island, who is, like, a big, like, athletic guy, his finishing move has to be a cross-body because he hasn't learned any moves yet. His moveset is, like, arm drags and the things you learn in the first week, you know? So, like, why the fuck would I want to watch him versus Jasper, who can't do anything? I have no interest in this whatsoever, nor will I have interest in this when it happens in NXT, nor will I have interest when it happens in WWE, right? All that I can see here, in my opinion, it's very, very self-evident. All I can see here is an opportunity for these people to learn the important parts that will get you over. The character, the personality, the charisma, right? I'll use this example. Enzo Amore, a lot of people said he was shit in the ring, and I tend to agree. But Enzo Amore was one of the most entertaining wrestlers, legitimately, of all time, because he was able to get the crowd behind him and say whatever the fuck he wants to say. You know, within the confines of his promos, of course, but you understand me, right? That was his thing. He was able to put that forward because he was so cool, right? Almost no wrestler ever has gotten over based on their in-ring work alone. The only times that happens, very, very rare, might be like your Chris Benoit or something like that, right? But like that took like 20 years, you know? We don't have 20 years for these motherfucks, right? Even the people that are supposed to be really good in the ring, like Daniel Bryan, he got over when he started saying yes a lot, right? And started growing his hair and beard out to stand out. You know, Kurt Angle, obviously probably one of the best in-ring guys of all time. Let's lump in Shawn Michaels there too. Two of the best in-ring guys of all time. The Undertaker, another great in-ring guy. Sting, another great in-ring guy. All these people have that in common, but more importantly, they're all personalities and very charismatic. right? They can all cut a promo, even Undertaker. I know people don't think it, but he can, right? And they're all larger than life figures. You know, Shawn Michaels is like one of the most charismatic people of all time. Kurt Angle as well, you know? Booker T as well. Like, why is it, do you think, that Booker T was the standout and not Stevie Ray? Because Booker T is more charismatic. They're both big, strong guys, right? But Booker T is 100 times more charismatic, so he gets 100 times the career, right? Booker T never got over because he's good in the ring, even though he's excellent in the ring, in my opinion. Very underrated, might I add, right? But it's all about the personality. Then you have people like, you know, let's say the Dudley Boys, right? The Dudley Boys, when they were a tag team, they weren't good in the ring because they just did spots, right? They had their 5 moves, but they were entertaining, right? They were entertaining in their presentation, you know? That's what made them awesome, you know? Nobody cares about the in-ring work. And the focus of this episode on in-ring work, in my opinion, was a very, very deleterious choice. This shouldn't have happened, and people should have done something else. Now, the only thing I can say is that hopefully, now that we got this bullshit out of the way, maybe next week's episode, we'll go back to the things that matter, you know? Because you can't give a point to someone because they lost, like, a match because the guy did a crossbody, but he led them. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, we don't need, like, nobody's waiting for Jasper Troy to go in, right? And, like, lead, I don't know, Randy Orton or Gunther or, you know, like Cody Rhodes or, you know, Kofi Kingston or these veterans of the game, right? Kofi Kingston is not waiting, like, for 25 years for Jasper Troy to come in there and teach him how to wrestle a match. No, in that context, Kofi Kingston is going to lead the match because he's been doing it for 30 years, right? Simple as that, cuckwads. So why the fuck do we care if Jasper Troy can lead a match? So he can lead one in 10 years? Well, in 10 years, all these jabrones are going to learn how to do it. If they stick to wrestling for 10 years, they're all going to learn how to lead a match, right? Some are going to be better than others, but it's not like it's this difficult thing. But anyways, I digress. The point here is exactly what I just said. Personality is what matters. In-ring work is tertiary, not even secondary to this. And with that being said, let's look forward to next week, cuckwads.